Hello and welcome back to An Old Man Watches, and today I'm going to be talking about the 1984 British slasher movie Don't Open Till Christmas. And this movie starts with three men dressed as Santa Claus getting murdered. One is knife, one is speared through the head, and one is barbecued. Clearly, we've got some kind of Kris Kringle killing lunatic on the loose, and New Scotland Yard immediately begin an investigation into the murders. Now, don't hold your breath for Plod to make the world safe for Old St. Nick anytime soon. Their flailing, ineffectual investigation shows pretty much no sign of slowing the body count, let alone actually catching the killer. So is Santa doomed to become a permanently endangered species, or will Christmas somehow be saved? Honestly, you're not likely to care very much by the end of this mean-spirited, joyless, tawdry Christmas cash-in. This is a movie with many problems, and those problems began well before there was actually a finished film at all. You see, the production of Don't Open Till Christmas was a long and troubled one. There were numerous clashes between the producers and the director of the film, Edmund Purdom, which was particularly problematic because he was also the film's leading man. Eventually, Purdom quit the production entirely, which necessitated the hiring of a new director, as well as substantial rewrites to the script. By the time those were done, multiple characters had to be recast because their original actors were no longer available, and many scenes had to be reshot or cut from the film entirely. Principal photography, which had begun in 1982, ultimately dragged into the early months of 1984, so well over a year. And then right at the end of the process, Purdom returned as director and star, and the film returned to its own original ending that had been planned before his departure, despite the many changes and rewritten elements of the script leading up to it. Bit of a mess, to say the least. And given all this behind-the-scenes nonsense, it's probably little surprise that the film is a mess. In fact, it's something of an achievement that the film has anything to recommend it at all. But there is one thing that the movie does reasonably well. It has large, diverse, and imaginative number of kill scenes. If there's one thing the script does get right, it is to find a wide variety of distinct ways to kill Santa Claus. Now, if you're not a slasher film aficionado, that may not seem like that much of a recommendation. But the fact is that memorable kill scenes are definitely one of, if not the major factor in how well a 1980s slasher movie was likely received by its core audience, which was teenage boys. The other factor, of course, was topless ladies, which the film does offer, though without the same fecundity or imagination as it does kills. And to the filmmakers' credits, they not only deliver good kill scenes, but they smartly put the more involved, elaborate set pieces later into the film. The early kills are frequent and violent, but they're generally quite straightforward in their conception. As the murders get more sophisticated and violent, they suggest an escalation of the danger and of the killer's psychosis. Now, I think it's likely that this element of escalation is coincidental, and that I'm giving the film more credit than it deserves by pointing it out. But there's precious little to praise here, so I'm going to be glass half full about the one thing that the film does do right. One thing the film does not do right is give us much of anyone to care about. Not least because all of the characters are so blitheringly stupid that there came a point where I was actively hoping for their deaths. The one exception to the stupidity is Kate, who is the daughter of one of the second Santa slain, and also the girlfriend of one of the possible suspects for the killings. Kate actually figures out a big chunk of the mystery, but unfortunately she makes the mistake of trying to explain what she has learned to what may be the dumbest policeman in the course of cinema. Despite Kate being the second person to suggest to him that this line of inquiry should be followed, he does nothing about it. More fundamentally, the film's murders have a very obvious and defining theme. If you dress up as Santa, you're going to get dead. It seems to me there's a fairly easy way to avoid becoming a victim. Don't put on a red suit. But apparently that never occurs to anybody in the movie. In fact, the cops do the opposite. They deliberately put at least a couple of their officers into Santa suits in an attempt to catch the killer. Would you be surprised to learn that all they get from that is dead cops? Because all they get from that is dead cops. The height of the film's silliness, though, comes when the murderer kidnaps a witness to one of his murders and holds her captive. He has her tied up when he brings her a meal, and so she says, "Well, can you untie me so I can eat this?" "Do you promise not to escape?" he asks. "Yes," she says, and the camera zooms in on her crossed fingers behind her back, just in case we were unsure as to whether she might possibly lie to the psycho. Yeah, it's not intended to be funny, I don't think, but it is in an absurd, silly kind of way. And the other major failing of this film, one I suspect may to some extent have its roots in the backstage drama of Edmund Purdam's early departure and last-minute return, is that it's a thoroughly downbeat, joyless affair. Now, you can certainly set out to make an oppressively grim and bleak film and produce something that is interesting, though likely not fun, to watch. But I don't think that Someone's Killing Santa is really the right pitch for that. That seems much better suited for something schlocky and just a little bit funny. Something where somebody crossing their fingers behind their back because they're lying to a serial killer would actually make sense, but the rest of this movie doesn't feel like that film. Now, doing something a little bit funny and schlocky doesn't mean you have to skimp on the boobs and blood that are, the slasher genre's bread and butter, just that you have to play up the innate absurdity of the premise in between the gory kill scenes. But Don't Open Till Christmas, apart from its occasional moments of craziness, is resolutely dour, downbeat, verging on nihilistic. Pretty much everything any character does in this film is an exercise in futility. I wonder to some extent if this is a reflection of the time and place in which it was made. The very early 80s were an extremely difficult time in the United Kingdom, with the unemployment rate soaring to a 50-year high and widespread rioting as a result of the economic hardship. Coming as this did after the upheaval of the late 70s, where businesses were unable to get sufficient electricity to operate for more than 3 days a week, there was a huge amount of pessimism in British society and British media of the time. Ultimately, give yourself a present. Stay away from this Christmas turkey. Next time, a 2-for-1 deal as we look at Sergio Leone's second and third films about the man with no name for a few dollars more and the good, the bad, and the ugly. But that's next time. Until then, thanks for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it.